We were promised twists and turns. We wanted drama, and that's exactly what we've got. Just 1 point separating 5 teams in the race for Champions League football. Now, of course, Manchester City could alter things by beating Bournemouth tomorrow night. But regardless of that result, it's going to the final day. This is exciting and it's hard to call. Let's discuss all the action from the Premier League over the last few days and how we got to this scenario. We're going to kick it off with Arsenal's big win over Newcastle United at the Emirates, separated by a fantastic goal by Declan Rice. Now, I think both managers got their tactics right in this game. Arteta just did what they usually do. Eddie Howe, I thought, got his tactics spot on. Now, obviously, he was dealt with a big blow just yesterday morning, just before the day of the game, with Isak unable to participate. So Callum Wilson got the nod up front. He played his back three with his wing backs, and I think that was the right thing to do. Arsenal like their width with Martinelli and Saka. Trossard does drop deep when he's a striker. Havertz tends to, while he gets involved in build-up play, tends to be a little bit further forward on the pitch. Marino offers that aerial threat. That's not something Trossard does. I think they've got 3 candidates and 3 different types of players that play that role. And I think Howe set up perfectly to accommodate what Arsenal do in that regard. They had the support out wide. They had Schär and Murphy on one side, and they had Byrne, Livramento on the other, looking after Saka and Ben White. And I think the spaces that Arsenal like to play in, I think Newcastle defended those very well. Whenever Trossard dropped back, someone went with him. So tactically, I think Howe got it spot on. The first 20 minutes, they were trying to get that ball in behind, and it worked on a couple of occasions with Livramento. But I think the real issue for Newcastle was not just no Isak. That was the biggest issue. But I think the second issue was selecting Callum Wilson. I thought he offered nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. I think he was a hindrance to Newcastle, to be honest with you. And I think if Howe could go back and pick his team again, I'd be surprised if he'd still go with Callum Wilson. Now, it'd be interesting if Isak's missing next weekend at home to Everton as to what Howe does. And this is with the benefit of the hindsight. This is absolutely, after watching the game, thinking Howe's possibly got that one wrong. What he could have done, maybe have played Willock or Lewis Miley from the start and just had Barnes and Gordon as strikers. Osula, could he have started him? I thought he looked quite lively when he came on, but I always like to bring in the context, the game state, which was Newcastle were 1-0 down, Arsenal were sitting deeper. I just thought Wilson really struggled in that game altogether. Very an entertaining game for me in terms of the way tactically they were set up. There wasn't much in it. I do think Arsenal were quite comfortable by the end, and I do think there wasn't much between it. I think a draw would have been a fair result, especially, the first half. Newcastle had some really good opportunities, some top saves from David Raya in goal. Again, another big performance from him. But a huge win for Arsenal. They just needed to get a point against Newcastle to guarantee Champions League football. They've got the win, so they're guaranteed to finish second now. They can rest up next week. There's no pressure on them. Had they got beat, they would have been in this conversation. When Sky Sports are doing their Champions League race graphic, Arsenal are not in it anymore. Had Newcastle beaten them, they very much would have been in there. They needed to avoid that scenario. They've done that. It's sort of, I say job done. It's a disappointing season for them probably with no trophy, but come close in quite a few of them. Again, story of Arteta, Arsenal really. We'll discuss the bigger picture at clubs over the course of the summer. But in terms of this game, big 3 points and a big defeat for Newcastle, actually. Pressure's on them next week at St James's Park. Right, before we discuss the other results, if you're new to this channel, please do subscribe. And also drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up. Both things are free, takes you 2 seconds and helps the channel out. So thank you very much for tuning in and your support as always. And we're going to go to London Stadium as I finish West Ham United 1, Nottingham Forest 2. My team getting beat by Forest. We were unlucky not to take the lead. Then we tried to play it out from the back. A horrific error by Areola. Gibbs White put it in the back of the net. But I do think Nuno got his tactics right. I think they were causing us problems in the first half. I don't think we were quite prepared for Elanga playing as close to Chris Wood as what he did, which is something we've seen from Nottingham Forest this season, but perhaps over the last few weeks he's been a bit more on the left with Dominguez on the right. He was a bit deeper yesterday, and I think that caused us a little bit of bother. We're unsure how to get around it. Just no creativity from West Ham until they made their subs on the hour mark, roughly. As soon as we did it, we conceded a goal. VAR took 6 minutes. Now, that's been context has been provided, which was an issue with communication. But I think this is where, if that's happening, you've got to just, as a referee, you've got to make that call. You're in charge. VAR should not be in charge. You're the one in charge. Go over, explain to the managers, there's a communication issue here. So we're just going to, we thought it's a goal, so we're going to go with the goal. I think the worst thing to do is wait around. It frustrates everyone, players, fans. Nobody enjoys waiting. Personally, I think it should have been offside, because to say Dominguez, they agreed and they determined Dominguez was offside, but he wasn't involved in play despite the ball going over his head. Dominguez had to duck. That doesn't mean he's involved in play. I don't know what does. I'm not that bothered. Whilst I was watching, I was thinking, just give the goal and let's just get on with it, because I'm fed up of all these delays. Communication issues, just give the goal, get on with the game. Stunning strike by Jared Bowen, by the way. And that first touch and then the volley is outstanding. Absolute sensational goal. Huge win for Nottingham Forest, though. They just had to get that win by a hook or crook. It didn't matter how they got that 3 points. And you could see what it meant to them at the end. The time wasting came out. The referee was not a good referee. He was not in control of that game at all. And I thought Nottingham Forest played the game allowed by the referee a lot better than what we did. But a huge, huge win for them. It keeps them in there. They know they beat Chelsea. They go above them. It's just a case of, can someone else drop points and they go above them too and get into the Champions League spots? That's the big question, and we're going to deal with that on Thursday, Friday this week. I'm looking forward to it. Aston Villa beat Spurs 2-0 on Friday night. 2 big games in Champions League race on Friday, and the results went as expected. Villa had to be patient, though. I thought they... Now, for context, as always, I watched the West Ham game. I watched the first half of the Everton game, watched the Arsenal game, and then when it came to Villa and Chelsea matches, I did what I think a lot of people did. I watched the first half of Villa, switched over, watched a bit of the Chelsea one, switched back, watched the rest of the Villa game, switched back, watched the rest. So I probably got about an hour of Villa game and an hour of the Chelsea game. But Villa were in control. They were never really under threat. Saying that, Martinez had to make a top save from Odegaard just to prevent Spurs getting a goal against the run of play. Eventually they got one. Villa through Konsa, another set piece goal conceded by Spurs. And then Kamara with a fantastic finish. But they, again, just get the win. And I think they've done that. They can go next week up against Man United, who will either have just won the Europa League or just lost the Europa League final. But you've got to expect Villa to be heavy favourites from that game. They just need someone to do something for them, that's all. Just make sure you look after your own job. And that's exactly what they did on Friday. I think it was a one-way contest, to be honest with you. The one thing I will say, though, and I've felt like this for a few weeks, but I'll just mention it in this video. I'm unsure about this Asensio-Rodgers thing. It might be because I'm a big Morgan Rodgers fan, so there's maybe a little bit of like a personal frustration here and a personal preference. But I think he's had a fantastic season. I think, for me, Villa's 2 best players have been Tielemans and Rodgers. Now, obviously, Tielemans is out at the minute, but I feel like Rodgers is the next best player for me, playing in that number 10 role. Now, I'm not going to argue or even debate that Asensio is a better player than Morgan Rodgers. He just oozes quality and elegance, and he's got that bit of X factor. He's a real, I don't know, dictator of the play up at that side of the pitch. But in order to accommodate him, Rodgers has moved out to the right, and I don't like it. I feel like he's really got one hand tied behind his back. Now, he still influences the play, Morgan Rodgers. I want to say last week, yeah, it was against Bournemouth, wasn't it? That cross in for Ollie Watkins, fantastic. But I do think his all-round game and his influence on the match has come down quite a bit by being moved out to accommodate Asensio. And I'm not sure the payoff is worth it. Now, watch Asensio whacking a hat-trick when they play Man United at the weekend. That looks stupid. But this is my honest thoughts. I don't know how to solve it. Do you put Rodgers back in there and move in? Probably not. I think out of the two of them, Rodgers is the more flexible of the two. So I get why Emery's done it. It's not like I don't understand it. I'm just not sure I like it. And I see talk of Villa buying Asensio. And I think when they're playing European football, in that you can play one, as we say, on the Wednesday, they might be playing on Thursdays. But when you play one European football and you play the other one in the Premier League, I think you can get away with that. That's fine. There's enough game time to keep them both happy, play them both in that number 10 role. But when we are where we are now, which is one game a week, you know, their strongest 11 on paper in terms of individuals, they are both on there. But in terms of the strongest 11, in terms of, I don't know, balance, I don't know. I'm not sure that this is the answer for Aston Villa, and I think it's just because of I feel like Rodgers has been pushed literally to the side. I'm not keen on that one. Elsewhere, Stamford Bridge 1-0 Chelsea. This was a hard game, wasn't it? Man United, complete contrast of teams by Man U and Spurs. Spurs, you could tell they had a final. Man U, it's hard to look at it and not think it was a trial run for Bilbao, perhaps from Amorim, that he played pretty much what he thought was going to be his 11 for the final, and he said he's learned things from it as well, which might suggest that one or two players got an opportunity and didn't perform well, Mason Mount, or maybe one or two did and did play well. But we'll deal with that in a different video. But for the game at Stamford Bridge, Man U were up for it. I thought it was a game that had a slight edge to it. It didn't boil over, but it felt a little bit tasty, actually. And you could tell the pressure was on Chelsea, and you could tell the pressure was getting to Chelsea as well. Obviously, no Jackson's because of his stupid red card, so George got a start up front. I thought he struggled. I thought Cole Palmer continued to struggle. And I think this is the thing with Chelsea. They've got a lot of top talent, but they're not all turning up, and they're not all providing consistency. Now, some of them are. Caicedo's been, for me, their player of the season by a mile. I think Cucurella doesn't get the plaudits he deserves. I think Enzo Fernandez has really turned up in the second half of the season, but it was enough to just get the win. Decent cross in from Reece James, fantastic header by Cucurella. And the one thing I will say, while I feel like the pressure got to Chelsea and they perhaps struggled a little bit, there was nothing from Man U, very, very little in the way of creativity or attacking threat. I thought Højlund had an absolute terrible game, a game so bad, and he just looks devoid of confidence at the minute. Højlund, there was one point in particular, he got the ball on the edge of the box, and a player in form takes a touch and gets a shot away. He took about 3 touches, and in the end, he got stuck under his feet, and he tried to lay it off to someone. He didn't even do that very well, but he had half an opportunity, and he completely blew it. There's just no confidence to him whatsoever, and that's the worst thing for Man U, I think, going into this final on Wednesday. They must be looking at Højlund and saying, do we play him? He's sort of our only striker, so we either play him or play a young striker, or we've got to come up with something different, whether it's playing Menu in the number 9 or something. Bad performance from him less than a week before that big game. So bad, I think he may have just played himself out of the starting 11. Anyway, big win for Chelsea. Needed to get the win. They've got the job done. It's in their hands. Nottingham Forest on Sunday. You win that game, you've got Champions League football. I say as simple as that. It is, but I don't think the game is going to be as simple as that. Brentford 2, Fulham 3. What on earth is this? What on earth? Fulham are the most frustratingly inconsistent team in the Premier League. They're incredibly hard to call. One game they're getting beat by teams they should be beaten, and then they go away to Brentford, one of the informed teams in the Premier League, 2-1 down and take it back away in 3-2. Where's this Fulham team? If I was a Fulham fan, I'd be really frustrated. But anyway, Brentford, Fulham took the lead by Jimenez, good goal. Brentford scored in Bournemouth. They got a penalty, missed it, really good save by Leno. Then Wissa nicked Norgard's goal. I mean, if I'm Norgard, I'm fuming about that, especially if I'm on a goal bonus or something. I'll say, excuse me, you owe me a few grand for that, pinching it on the line. And then Fulham got the equaliser. And then the rule, you just know, you do not give Harry Wilson one. Now, I think in 10 years' time, he might be one of those Barclays players, one of those streets won't forget players, because I remember when he broke through and he had his loan spells at the likes of Hull, and you thought, wow, this guy's going to go on and be, a top player. And he's never reached that, has he? He's always been a average Premier League player at best, but capable of hitting a wonder goal. Now, this is a good strike. It wouldn't even be in his top 10. I'd imagine if I went and had a look at all of Wilson's goals, this one isn't even up there with the best of them. But it's a bit like, it's the Dwight McNeil thing. Dwight McNeil's another player. You just don't let them cut in on their left foot and shoot from distance, because A, they will hit it from distance. Not every player will. They will. And B, they're capable of it. Some players will cut in and shoot, but they're never going to trouble your goalkeeper. But Wilson, McNeil, those are the types of players you just can't afford to let them shoot. Fantastic finish. Curled it right into that far bottom corner. Flecken had absolutely no chance. Superb goal. Superb win for Fulham. It's just too little too late. Where's that been? Anyway, elsewhere, Everton finished 2-0 against Southampton. I watched the first half. My word. I enjoyed the build-up more than the game. The build-up before the match, seeing all the Evertonians outside Goodison Park, all the smoke bombs, all the singing, I can't remember, I don't know his name, apologies, the dude on the pitch singing before the players came out. Goosebumps. It was, wow, this is it. Moment. They just scored too early. Everton scored too early, and Southampton were the complete wrong team for this to be a good game. And I think it made me thankful that when we played Man United, both teams were playing for something. You know, we went 1-0 up, 2-1 down, 1-3-2. It was quite a late goal as well. We had everything in that match in order to say goodbye to Upton Park. That had everything. Beating Man U too. This had nothing. Southampton didn't even have a shot until after the hour mark. Don't get me wrong. Pickford had to make a couple of good saves in the game. But Everton were 2-0 up at half-time. The game was done at half-time. And I think it just sort of like dulled it a little bit. Now, as an Everton fan, you probably won't really care what I think. I don't blame you at all. So it was a good send-off for the ground. I wouldn't say it was a perfect one, but I don't think it was going to be with this opponent. Saying that, 2 good goals from Ndiaye. He's someone I'm looking forward to seeing next season. Moyes is capable of getting everything out of one of his attacking players. Just making it... It's hard not to look at Bowen at West Ham and how Moyes had him playing and performing on a consistent basis. Can he do that with Ndiaye? I think he could next season, actually. I think he could get a large return of goals and be involved in a lot of goals that Everton do get. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. But two really good strikes from him. The first one in particular on his left foot. Then the second one, just really instinctive play. The only one to sort of react from Dwight McNeil. Sort of looked like a pass, to be honest. To give him credit, it looked like he was ready to shoot, and he sort of just dinks it through. And it's one of them. I watch it more and more. I'm not even sure there's a deflection on it, but great little finish by Ndiaye. He goes up to Ramsdale and just, sits him on the floor and puts it into the back of the empty net. Great win for Everton. I'm glad they got that win. Last ever game at Goodison Park. It was important that they just won. And it'll be interesting to see how they get on at the Hill Dickinson Stadium next season. Leicester 2, Ipswich 0. It had to be him, didn't it? It had to be Jamie Vardy. I'm pleased it was Jamie Vardy as well. An absolute sort of legend of Premier League and such a fantastic story too. But on a personal note, what are you doing? What are you doing, Jamie? When I did the Premier League preview, I shared my first bet for the first time since I relaunched this channel. 105 to 1 it was for Vardy to get the first goal and first card of the game. Because I could imagine it. Scores, top off, message on a shirt, right? Yeah. So it come through. 1-0 Leicester, Vardy scored. Brilliant. Surely taps off, right? No card, nothing. No evidence of a card. So I watched it. It was on social media immediately. The goal, celebration, took the corner flag out and picked up. A nice celebration, I suppose. But what's that about, Jay? What are you doing? Anyway, so I was left disappointed. I had a minute of hope and excitement that we just hit a 105 to 1. I know there was a few of you on it as well that was disappointed too. McAteer, though, good goal. And Leicester have got a few players who need a season in Championship. That sounds a bit harsh, and I think he is possibly the biggest one. I think he would be a really good winger in the Championship. If he gets a big opportunity next season, I think he might take it. Good goal. Ipswich just... Their season finished a few weeks ago. Anyways, right then, tomorrow night we've got Crystal Palace against Wolves. Do Palace care? Probably. Actually, they will. Selhurst Park will be rocking, won't it? They'll still be partying after that win at Wembley, and so they should be. So I think there'll be a real good atmosphere at Selhurst Park. Just a 90-minute celebration that they won, because I think at Wembley the emotion takes over, doesn't it? And there was a lot of the bloody emotion in the stands that game. Now, I've done a review on the match on the channel. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. But I spoke about my thoughts on everything to do with the game. But I think as a fan, you can almost like wake up on today, Monday morning, games happen, starting thinking, bloody hell, I don't remember this, don't remember that. But your memory does things to you. So I think tomorrow night gives them an opportunity to almost celebrate in a calmer manner. The tears perhaps won't be there as such, but you'll be able to just sing your hearts out for 90 minutes, say thank you to the players, say thank you to Oliver Glasner as well. It'll be a real carnival of celebration at Selhurst Park on Tuesday night against Wolves. Manchester City against Bournemouth. This is, I guess, the bigger game in terms of the Champions League. Bournemouth have only lost one of their last 12, so it's going to be a tricky game for Manchester City. The reaction will be interesting. I'm not sure Bournemouth will play the same way that Palace play. I'm not sure Bournemouth can play the same way. I think if they were going to try and sit back in that low block, the counter-attacking side, they can certainly do that. But I feel like Bournemouth succeed. The formation, how they perform under Aviola, relies on the high press, relies on the energy. In terms of sitting in, I'm not sure they're as good at that as other teams in the league, and I include Crystal Palace as one of those. So my score predictions, I'm going to say Palace 2, Wolves 2. I think we're in for a good game. I think we're in for goals, fun. And then I'm going to say Manchester City. I don't know. You don't even know what City's going to turn up, do you? Are they going to turn up like a wounded animal and just batter Bournemouth? Or are they going to turn up pissed off and on the ropes and Bournemouth can get at them? I guess when you feel like that, it indicates a draw, doesn't it? I'll say Man City 1, Bournemouth 1, which would be a bad result for Man City, but a bloody good result for the Champions League race on Sunday as well. Thank you very much for joining me. Drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up, and I'll catch up with you in a bit.